Welcome to Mission Minute News. I'm Dominican Sister Jean Harris. First, the headlines. Respect life, follow Joseph. Pope gathers experts ahead of COP26. Unified SVD service on the South Side. Riches done right. A tribute of gratitude. And SVDs mourn COVID deaths. Respect life, follow Joseph. During October, the U.S. Catholic Church celebrates Respect Life Month. This year, U.S. bishops are encouraging Catholics to follow in the footsteps of St. Joseph in protecting human life and promoting a culture of life. Respect Life Month aims to encourage Catholics to build a society that cherishes and protects each and every human life. And in this year of St. Joseph, Respect Life is focusing on this crucial figure in the history of salvation. Chairman of the Bishops' Committee on Pro-Life Activities, Archbishop Joseph F. Naumann of Kansas City, said that as the faithful protector of both Jesus and Mary, we find in St. Joseph a profound reminder of our own call to welcome, safeguard, and defend God's precious gift of human life. Despite the mysterious circumstances surrounding Mary's pregnancy, he explains, St. Joseph took her into his home at the word of the angel. He guided their journey to Bethlehem, found shelter, and welcomed the infant Jesus as his son. When Herod threatened the life of the Christ child, St. Joseph left his homeland behind and fled with Jesus and Mary to Egypt. The Archbishop is calling on the faithful to follow the footsteps of St. Joseph, protecting and caring for those God has entrusted to us, especially vulnerable mothers and children. One way to do this is advocating against taxpayer-funded abortion. Another is to support the pro-life committee's Walking with Moms in Need program in their parishes. The program is designed to help mothers experiencing a difficult pregnancy and parenting, in particular low-income mothers. Pope gathers experts ahead of COP26. Over the last 6 months, Pope Francis held monthly virtual meetings with other religious leaders and scientists from around the world to take a common stand for the protection of the environment ahead of the UN Climate Change Conference, known as COP26, scheduled for October 31st through November 12th in Glasgow, Scotland. The abbreviation COP26 stands for the 26th Conference of Parties of the UNFCCC, which stands for the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. The Vatican Initiative was born of a proposal from the embassies of Great Britain and Italy. Faith and science towards COP26 allowed religious leaders and scientists to share their concerns and wishes for greater responsibility for the planet and for necessary change. During the meetings, Pope Francis expressed gratitude to the participants for their desire for a deepened dialogue among themselves and with scientists, and proposed 3 concepts to guide their reflection: openness to interdependence and sharing, the dynamism of love, and the call to respect. Pope Francis affirmed that everything is connected in our world, adding that science, as well as our religious beliefs and spiritual traditions, highlight the connectedness between ourselves and the rest of creation. Indeed, we recognize the signs of divine harmony present in the natural world, for no creatures are self-sufficient. They exist only in dependence on each other, complementing one another and in the service of one another, the Pope said, and added, openness to interdependence springs from the very mystery of the triune God. The Pope went on to emphasize that our common commitment must constantly be driven by the dynamism of love, for in the depths of every heart, love creates bonds and expands existence, for it draws people out of themselves and towards others. And it must be renewed daily. Love is the mirror of an intense spiritual life, a love that extends to all, transcending cultural, political, and social boundaries. We need to counter the throwaway culture and the seeds of conflict which cause serious wounds to the environment and lead to the breaking of that covenant between human beings and the environment, which should mirror the creative love of God, from whom we come and towards whom we are journeying. Regarding his third idea, the call to respect, the Pope said it is a respect for creation, for our neighbor, for ourselves, and for the Creator, but also mutual respect between faith and science, in order to enter into a dialogue for the sake of protecting nature, defending the poor, and building networks of respect and fraternity. Guided by these three concepts, sharing, love, and respect, the preparatory meetings resulted in a joint appeal shedding light on common efforts to care for Earth, which statement was presented to both Alok Sharma, President-designate of COP26, and Luigi Di Maio, Italian Minister for Foreign Affairs. Unified SVD service on the South Side. On July 4th this year, the newly formed Our Lady of Africa parish on Chicago's South Side celebrated its first Eucharist. Years of dialogue and collaboration among archdiocesan officials and pastors and parishioners of 5 parishes succeeded in creating the new unified Our Lady of Africa parish. The former parishes of Corpus Christi, Holy Angels, St. Ambrose, St. Anselm, and St. Elizabeth were located within 6.5 miles of each other, with a combined average Sunday attendance of a little over 600, representing a 60% decline over the past 20 years. The new Our Lady of Africa parish, serving neighborhoods of Bronzeville, Washington Park, and Kenwood, uses the former Holy Angels Church, holds all the sacramental records of the 5 former parishes, and assumes responsibility for Holy Angels Catholic School, which also receives support from the Big Shoulders Fund of Chicago. Father Robert Kelly, SVD, from St. Elizabeth St. Anselm, was named pastor of the unified parish. SVDs have served Chicago's South Side for more than a century, beginning in 1915 with the Venerable Father Augustus Tolton as pastor of St. Monica's African American parish, founded in the early 1890s. Father Joseph Eckert, SVD, was pastor of St. Monica's when it united with St. Elizabeth Parish in 1924. Riches done right. In 2019, there was another death in the Hilton family. Yes, that family, the one with all the hotels around the world. But let's look back a century or so to the original founder of the multi-billion-dollar chain, who died in 1979 and was buried at Calvary Catholic Cemetery in Los Angeles. That man, Conrad Nicholson Hilton Sr., had 4 children by 2 of his 3 marriages. With Mary Barron, he had Conrad Jr., Barron, and Eric. And with Hollywood star Zsa Zsa Gabor, 1 daughter, Constance Francesca. At his death, 3 of those 4 children had survived him, but their combined inheritance amounted to only $600,000. The other 97% of his estate went to Conrad's beloved Hilton Foundation. According to the New York Times, Hilton's will simply stated that charity is a supreme virtue and the great channel through which the mercy of God is passed on to humankind. He advised his progeny to be ever watchful for the opportunity to shelter little children with the umbrella of your charity. Give aid to their protectors and defenders, the sisters, who appeal especially to me of being deserving of help from the foundation. These words have guided the Hilton Foundation for over 40 years, including assisting women religious through the special Hilton Fund for Sisters, from which Wordnet's sisters have benefited and which regularly supports the Global Sisters Report of the National Catholic Reporter. Returning to the Hilton family member who died in this century in 2019, at the age of 91, we see the second son of Conrad Sr., Barron, born in 1928, who with his brothers Conrad Jr. and Eric built the hotel empire into a powerhouse brand respected around the world. Barron also owned the San Diego Chargers and in the 60s was one of the founding owners of the American Football League. Barron married Marilyn Hawley in 1947, had 8 children, and just like his father, left the majority of his wealth to the Hilton Foundation, giving just 3% of it in total to his 8 children, 15 grandchildren, including granddaughters Paris and Nikki, and 4 great-grandchildren. Barron's son, Stephen, board chair, announced that with his father's death, the foundation had grown from $2.9 to $6.3 billion. Barron's characteristic enthusiasm upon hearing reports from grant recipients will live on in 7 different charitable programs, including the Fund for Sisters. Serving youth development, disaster relief, children with HIV and AIDS, poverty alleviation, homeless shelters, and more. Wealth has its pitfalls, but in the end, in the words of St. Paul to Timothy, it's possible also to be rich in good deeds and also to be generous and willing to share. 1 Timothy. Riches can be done right. A tribute of gratitude. A good friend of many people and an inspired artist, John August Swanson left us on September 23, 2021. You've seen his paintings, luminous mosaics of color, of people, of life, drawing you in to be a part, to bask in the light, the joy, the comfort, and the challenge of the truth. Cecilia Gonzalez Andrew, professor of theological studies at Loyola Marymount University, Los Angeles, recalls, "The artist and his art were formed by his immigrant family's wounded history. His Swedish father absent, John lived with his grandmother, his mother Magdalena, and his sister Olga. From them he learned his Catholic faith, Mexican traditions, and the insight that social justice is required of a faithful Christian life. At 15, he petitioned to enter a monastery in Ohio, but after nearly a year was sent home. Yet the desire for religious life never left him, and until the end he lived in total simplicity, attending daily Mass. In the late 1950s, John attended Loyola University himself, aiming unsuccessfully at a medical career. But happily, a confluence of events guided him toward a job in a paint factory, night classes in art with Immaculate Heart Sister Corita Kent, and advocacy for social justice, which led to his first silkscreen prints, protest signs for farm workers. Emily Grosvenor, a doctoral student, speaking from personal experience, said, "To meet John August Swanson was to feel seen and loved and cared for, even if the interaction lasted only a few minutes. One would be hard-pressed to leave his company without some sample of his work to lend hope and to remind the person receiving the gift where the Spirit's beauty, justice, and hope are ever to be found in community with the other." J. Michael Walker, a fellow Los Angeles artist and friend, adds in praise, "I see in him the Dominican Renaissance painter Blessed Fra Angelico, whose epitaph likewise applies to John. When singing my praise, say rather that in the name of Christ, I gave all I had to the poor." The procession serograph, which he considered his grand opus, is made up of a staggering 89 layers of unique colors. Today, the original painting is in the Vatican's collection of modern religious art, and Swanson's works are collected by the Smithsonian, the Tate, the Art Institute of Chicago, countless universities, seminaries, monasteries, and churches of all denominations. Father Chris Ponette, pastor of St. Camilla's Parish and Center for Spiritual Care in Los Angeles, who accompanied John as chaplain to the end, summed it up. "John has been a prophet. May he rest in peace and light and joy." SVDs mourn COVID deaths. The coronavirus has taken a heavy toll among Roman Catholic priests and religions worldwide, killing hundreds of them in a handful of the hardest hit countries alone. The impact includes some SVD provinces in India, Indonesia, and Brazil, which have lost several of their members, sadly, many of them young. Many, too, were holding key positions in different ministries and leadership. 2021 has already lost 106 confreres worldwide, 48 due to the pandemic, whereas in all of 2020, 89 confreres passed away. Synodality is the goal. Our Holy Father, Pope Francis, is now asking every diocese in the world to help Catholics find their voice. Preparation processes for the Synod in 2023 have begun with a ceremony in Rome on October 9th, and on Saturday, October 17th, every diocese will hold a similar event to introduce the coming event. Synodality is the goal. Synodality, based on the word synod, which is a church word that means assembly or council considering issues of communion, participation, and mission, asks all Catholics to acquire an attitude of ongoing communion, participation, and mission. What the Synod is really asking of Catholics is prayerful discernment and thought regarding what the whole Church needs to do and be going forward. Listening sessions through online surveys, in-person and Zoom meetings, and other avenues should be exploring the insights of the people of God in each country and diocese. The overarching goal is to become a collegial church that walks together into the future, with synodality as our modus operandi. May all the dioceses take full advantage of this wonderful opportunity for growth in the footsteps of Jesus and Vatican II. Nobel awards groundbreaking discoveries. American scientists David Julius and Artem Patapoutian have won the Nobel Prize in Medicine for their discoveries about how the human body perceives temperature and touch. Their revelations, awarded in Stockholm, Sweden, could lead to a new way of treating pain or even heart disease. Thomas Perlman, Secretary General of the Nobel Committee, said the two prominent American scientists share one of the world's most prestigious prizes in their field and announced the Nobel Assembly at Karolinska Institute has today decided to award the 2021 Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine jointly to David Julius and Artem Patapoutian for their discoveries of receptors for temperature and touch. The two American scientists effectively discovered how humans feel the warmth of, for instance, the sun or the hug of a loved one. Their work focused on the field of somatosensation, which explores the ability of specialized organs such as eyes, ears, and skin to see, hear, and feel. The two men investigated how the human body converts physical sensations into electrical messages in the nervous system. Experts say the Nobel laureates' findings could lead to a new way of treating pain. A very important and profound discovery, said Perlman. Heat, cold, and touch are crucial for people to experience the world and survive. The prize is the first of several more to be awarded this year for outstanding work in the fields of physics, chemistry, literature, peace, and economics. SVD Filipino Ministry in Salzburg. With a festive service led by Cardinal Christoph Schönborn, the Philippine worship community Vienna Salzburg celebrated its 20th anniversary on Sunday, September 5th at the Church of St. John at Keplerplatz in Vienna, Favoriten. The parish Zum Gottlichen Wort, which translates to the Divine Word, cared for by the Styler missionaries, is one of the meeting places of the migrant Filipino community of about 1,000 faithful. The Archbishop of Vienna, Divine Word Father Ron Sandoval serving the Filipino community, and parish priest Father Matthias Felber, SVD, concelebrated the Eucharist, during which Cardinal Schönborn recognized volunteer Herta Niedermeyer of Vienna with the Diocesan Order of St. Stephen for her commitment to the Filipino community, teaching the German language, social and pastoral activities, and her own acquisition of Tagalog. 20 years ago, Father Sandoval was working first as chaplain in the parish of Allerheiligen and trying to provide services for Filipinos, but the need was great. It necessitated a move to larger churches, first to St. John Capistrano, and finally Keplerplatz, where 72 volunteers now serve as lectors, communion ministers, sacristan, youth ministers, and music ministry in 8 choirs. Members of the Filipino community also meet and celebrate together in Floridsdorf, in the Donau City Church, in the Chapel of St. Polten Retirement Home, and in Salzburg, Lehen. Dreaming with Tradition. An article by Frances Wessel, a school sister of Notre Dame, in the September issue of Naomi News, Bridgeton, Missouri, offers a worthwhile thought. Progress and transformation are important, but so is tradition, as we are reminded by Tevye in Fiddler on the Roof. In fact, surviving difficult times can require that we fall back somehow on tradition with a capital T. Meaningful tradition, not repetition of former but defunct solutions or practices. To carry on the tradition of our faith, we look to the scriptures, from Abraham to Moses to John the Baptist to Mary to Jesus. And we look to the prophets like Ezra and Haggai, those persons always listening closely to the nudging of God's Spirit and then acting on what a particular time presents as opportunity. This particular time has asked many of us to journey like Abraham, to leave our home as migrants or refugees, or our office, or simply as older persons to navigate new venues of living. So here we are, putting one foot in front of the other, trusting in God, finding what is good, and making each day, each season, the time to dream and live with gratitude and joy, hope, and peace. We need not look far to find modern-day prophets, persons who have dreamed and spent their lives listening, loving, giving, and dying for values that brought life and freedom to others. Nelson Mandela, after years in prison, dissolving apartheid. Martin Luther King, visioning a new American life. Mary giving us Jesus, and Jesus giving us life. We've been hearing a lot about dreaming from Pope Francis, especially in his recent book, Let Us Dream, The Path to a Better Future, written in collaboration with his biographer, Austin Ivory. The time is now to dream big, to rethink our priorities, what we value, what we want, what we seek, and to commit ourselves to acting on those dreams. As God said to Isaiah and to us, "Come, let us talk this over. Let us dare to dream." If you have a comment or question about any of our stories, please email us at missionminutenews@wordnet.tv. You can also post your comments below each video on YouTube. We promise to respond. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel and click on the bell icon. Share with others about the channel and the variety of programs you enjoy there. Please join us every Wednesday for our online Eucharist and Adoration and Benediction of the Blessed Sacrament, starting at 11 a.m. Pacific. To send us your prayer requests or to sponsor the Wednesday Eucharist, contact us by phone at 909-383-4333 or send us an email to mail@wordnet.tv. This is Mission Minute News. Until we meet again, stay safe and well, and may Jesus' love for you make you smile.